Hello, welcome to Business Incorporated. I'm Ladi Williams. Coming up on the show today, DRC holds rollout of AstraZeneca vaccine as a precautionary measure. And Ghana records $2.6 billion in FDI for 2020 despite impact of COVID-19. And Egypt aims to increase its investment in green projects by 30% between 2021 and 2022. Begin this week's show with intraday market numbers from the African continent, which were mostly positive. Only the GSE in South Africa declined by 0.38%. Elsewhere, Nigeria's main index was marginally higher by 0.01%, while Egypt's EGX 30 rose 0.38%. Kenya closed negative on Friday. And it was a similar picture in the Middle East, where major markets were mostly in positive territory, except one. In the UAE, Dubai's index jumped 0.72%, while the Abu Dhabi index advanced 0.42%. The Qatari index was marginally higher by 0.01%, and only the market in Saudi Arabia declined by 0.27%. European stocks traded higher today as global investors focus on this week's upcoming Federal Reserve meeting. Let's talk to Conrad now for more from the European scene. Hello, Conrad. Good to have you.
Good afternoon. Hi.
So the former Australian Finance Minister, Matthias Cormann, has been chosen to become the next chief of the OECD. How is this seen in Germany's financial capital, Frankfurt?
You know, there was another candidate called Cecilia Malmström, who is used to be the trade commissioner for the European Union Commission. And of course, Ms. Malmström was, for many Europeans, the #1 candidate, which doesn't mean that people would be against Mr. Cormann. On the contrary, in particular here in Germany, he has many friends too, because he speaks German. It's even his first language, because Cormann was born in Belgium, in the German-speaking minority of Belgium. So he really is a globalist. Born a German speaker, he went to university in the French and in the Flemish parts of Belgium. And then he went to Australia, where he had a brilliant career, which eventually led him to become a finance minister. This globalist background might help him and might even help him much better compared to Cecilia Malmström to tackle some of the problems that the OECD has to tackle. For example, worldwide regulation of the large internet companies like Facebook and Google. Here, the OECD needs the support of the Americans and also the UK, also Australia, and it might be easier for him to find this support compared to Cecilia Malmström.
Yeah, truly a globalist indeed. Well, a super election year has kicked off with 2 state elections in Germany. What's the outcome and what's the trend for Germany's Chancellor Angela Merkel?
Well, the outcome is that the same prime ministers of these federal states will remain in their posts. They are not of Ms. Merkel's party. They're from the Green Party and from the German Social Democrats. And that's an indicator that voters voted for stability. They don't want change in government, in particular in these, uncertain times of a pandemic. For the party of Ms. Merkel, the conservative CDU party, the elections were really a blow because the party really lost a significant amount of votes. That has to do with the fact that voters blame the federal government, Ms. Merkel's government, for the very slow rollout of the vaccination program here in Germany. And also something else played into this: corruption. We had a couple of members of parliament who got themselves paid for doing COVID-19 related deals or for making those deals possible. That was considered to be super unethical by most people here in the country, and many voters were really angry about this, and that's why they didn't vote for Ms. Merkel's party in those 2 elections.
And the Netherlands and Ireland are joining a growing list of countries pausing the distribution for AstraZeneca vaccine against COVID. How bad is this for the company and for the vaccination progress in Europe?
Well, of course, this undermines confidence of people in the vaccination program. It's very negative in that regard. For the company, it's also very negative because, as you might remember, this is not the first piece of negative headlines that AstraZeneca is going through. The company has significantly fallen behind on its promise for how many of these doses of vaccinations it can deliver. Originally, the contract with the European Union was to deliver 300 million doses in the first 6 months of this year. Now, AstraZeneca says they will be only able to deliver 100 million doses. But I also have to underline, it's unclear how long the negative impact now of the halting of this vaccination with AstraZeneca's vaccination will be, because there's no direct link between the vaccinations and the blood clots. AstraZeneca says that an analysis of the safety data of more than 10 million records has shown no evidence of an increased risk of blood clots. And given that we don't have, in general, enough doses available, every dose that is not being used now will likely be used in another country.
All right, let's hope AstraZeneca is able to clear the air on this. Anyway, thank you for the update, Conrad, and do enjoy the rest of your day. And in the UK, FTSE 100 gained 23 points in the morning. Betting group Flutter was the top riser in London, up 7% after saying it is considering floating a small stake of its FanDuel site on the US stock market. And these are other headline grabbers. And Juliana joins us now to let us know more. Hello, Juliana. Great to have you. Well, the Bank of England governor is trending today. In an interview with Andrew, Bailey says he is more positive about recovery despite unequal COVID impact. He also played down risk of inflation surging. And with what different interpretations are being given to Bailey's interview today?
Good afternoon, Laddie. Yes, the Bank of England Governor Andrew Bailey is trending. I spoke about this with Chimazé this morning, not all for the right reasons, but in his working capacity, he's been speaking to the BBC Today programme, basically doubling down on comments he's made recently about hopes for a UK COVID recovery being pretty swift, and we should reach pre-pandemic levels, hopefully by the end of next year, but certainly we'll witness growth this year. There has been lots of concerns globally about the level of inflation because there is so much pent-up demand that when restrictions are finally lifted in the summer, there are some suggestions that inflation could rise to about 5 or even 6%. It's currently at about 0.6% at the moment. Andrew Bailey dismissed these fears. He does believe that inflation will rise to about 2%, which is the Bank of England's set target, but no further than that. This obviously comes before Thursday's Monetary Policy Committee meeting. We're not expecting there to be a cut to negative interest rates. It's currently at a historic low of 0.1%. But Andrew Bailey did say, look, you know, that negative interest rates are in a toolbox, and that if they do need to be used, they will be used. We're not expecting them to be used this time round. Quantitative easing currently stands at £845 billion in the UK. We're also not expecting that to rise.
All right, we'll keep tracking about how his comments are being priced into today's trading. Not much, actually. You mentioned Flutter Entertainment. That's a massive story. They were a huge riser on the FTSE All-Share at early trading. American gambling has become very profitable for British bookmakers since it was legalised in 2018, so they're all heading that way. That really cheered up investors. The FTSE All-Share at Intraday is up 0.41%. The FTSE 100 is up by 0.40%, and the FTSE 250 is up by 0.38%. We're also seeing a rally in the British pound. It's currently trading up against the US dollar by 0.06%, up against the euro by 0.29%, and up against the Japanese yen by 0.08%. And Deliveroo is back in the news again, planning to raise £1 billion from its stock market flotation. What does the plan entail?
It's interesting because we've been having this discussion for the past couple of weeks, haven't we? But today was the official announcement that the takeaway delivery giant Deliveroo will be floating on the London Stock Exchange sometime soon, valuing the company at £1 billion. And if it does float at that price, this will be the biggest IPO in London for 7 years. They are going to be floating under this what's new in the UK, a dual share listing, which is something that we've been seeing in the US. We haven't actually seen it here because it was against trading laws. But when Chancellor Rishi Sunak delivered his spring budget on the 3rd of March, he did change these trading rules so that Britain can become more competitive again. Since Brexit, we're kind of losing our status to the likes of Frankfurt, and Paris is really on London's tail. So when Deliveroo does go live, their CEO, even though shares will be trading publicly, will still be able to maintain some level of control. Deliveroo are pretty happy, of course, for London. This is a massive business story. That cheered investors and Chancellor Rishi Sunak when that was announced officially earlier today.
Massive indeed. All right, Juliana, thank you so much for the update, and do enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
Thanks, Laddie.
And oil prices rose in early trade today, with Brent heading towards $70 a barrel as data showed China's economic recovery accelerated at the start of 2021, boosting the energy demand outlook. And the world's largest oil importer, Brent crude futures for May gained 0.7% to $69.69 a barrel, while U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude for April was at $66.10 a barrel, up 0.8%. China's industrial output growth quickened in January and February, beating expectations, while its daily refinery throughput data rose 15% from the same period a year ago. Further supporting prices, top oil exporter Saudi Arabia has cut the supply of April loading crude to at least 4 North Asian buyers by up to 15%, while meeting the normal monthly requirements of Indian refiners. The Democratic Republic of Congo's economy averted an expected pandemic-induced recession in 2020 to grow 0.8% on the back of strong mining activity. And this comes after the International Monetary Fund projected last April that Congo's economy would contract by 2.2% in 2020 because of fall in prices for key exports like copper and the impact of the coronavirus pandemic. Matt Kindiger, an associate practice lead for Sub-Saharan Africa at Front of You, joins us now to give us an outlook for the country this year. Hello, Matt. Great to have you.
Hi. Thanks for having me on the show today.
Yeah. So, given that the economy avoided recession in 2020, what is the outlook for GDP growth this year?
Yes, so I would say that the 2020 growth really confounded our expectations. We were previously expecting, like the IMF, that the economy would contract by about 2% last year. So it means that the country has performed very well by global standards, and it joins a few countries like Kenya and Ghana that avoided recession last year. But broadly, I would say it supports our view that the economy will deliver a year of healthy growth. In 2021, we are forecasting a growth rate of about 5.9, maybe 6.5% this year, which is good by global and sub-Saharan African standards. This will really be driven by strong investments into the mining sector, also exports from mining, driven by high prices for copper. This is supported by a strong global demand. But we also are expecting pretty good conditions for consumers. They're going to be much better than they were in 2020. So broadly, fundamentally, quite a strong year for the economy.
Truly strong. But I know the mining sector is crucial for the economy, but are there other sectors that are likely to perform well over the coming years?
Yes, well, this is a really good question to ask, because a lot of people think of Congo and they think of mining, but several recent developments will encourage strong growth in other sectors as well. One is infrastructure development. There's been a bit of a pause recently, but we are expecting infrastructure construction, especially in electricity generation and telecoms, to gather pace in DRC this year. Additionally, the Biden administration in the US has recently readmitted DRC to its AGOA partnership, which favors certain markets in terms of, it gives them favorable access to the US markets in terms of lower import tariffs. So this is very good news for manufacturing industries in DRC, textiles, for example, but also agriculture, which will benefit from the AGOA sort of partnership and provisions. So there are some other sectors apart from mining that certainly are worth monitoring in 2021.
Interesting. Well, currency pressures and rising inflation have presented challenges in DRC over the last year. Can businesses expect these trends to continue in the future?
Yes. So, well, I'll say no, but yes, there have been significant pressures for currency and inflation in DRC. You know, some of the highest rates across sub-Saharan Africa. You know, I think the inflation rate reached a 2-year high of 31% last July. So very significant inflation pressures in the market for sure. And the franc as well depreciated quite significantly last year. We're expecting things to improve in 2021. You know, significant investment and export revenues will support the value of the franc this year. We can't rule out some depreciation, but we don't expect there to be a significant downward pressure on the currency. And we are expecting inflation to gradually slow. It probably will remain in double digits. We're forecasting a rate of around about 13% this year, but we are expecting things to improve slightly. And this will support, you know, consumer spending. It will mean that cost pressures will be less significant over the course of the year. So overall, a broadly more positive view for the monetary landscape in DRC this year.
Interesting. That's good for them. We'll keep tracking the economy and see how it goes. Thank you so much, as always, for joining us on the program. Thank you, Matt.
Thanks very much.
Meanwhile, the DRC has postponed its AstraZeneca vaccination rollout campaign, originally set to begin today, March 15, 2021. The country's health minister says this is as a result of various countries taking similar precautionary measures over blood clot fears. The minister added that a new date for the DRC's vaccination campaign would be announced shortly after the results of the national and international investigations are made available. DRC, which had received 1.7 million doses of AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine, has so far reported 26,954 coronavirus cases and 712 deaths. And the value of foreign direct investment inflows into Ghana increased by 139% to $2.6 billion in 2020 from the $1.1 billion recorded in 2019. According to latest data from the Ghana Investment Promotion Center, the trend defied the anticipated steep decline in the FDI flows as the second wave of COVID-19 infections threatened to cripple the Ghanaian economy. Chief Executive Officer of the GIPC explains that the strong performance in Ghana's inbound FDI amidst the global health pandemic could be attributed to a combination of factors including effective government policy responses and an easing of travel restrictions. The data also shows that with the considerable inflow of investment, some 279 projects were registered within the year. And Egypt plans to increase public investments directed to green projects to 30% from 15% in 2020 and 2021 fiscal year. Minister of Planning and Economic Development, Hala El-Said, says this comes to measure progress in the set goal through the implementation of priority projects and activities and funding with a positive impact on the environment. The minister stressed the importance of taking practical steps to implement the Environmental Sustainability Standards Guide by spreading the culture of sustainability and defining mechanisms for monitoring performance indicators for all sectors. And that's it on Business Incorporated. Thank you for watching. I'm Ladi Williams. Bye for now.